Rob Reiner's inner circle is in mourning. 2 days after the When Harry Met Sally director and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found murdered in their Los Angeles home, Billy Crystal and several of the couple's closest friends came together to release a joint tribute. "He didn't listen to my warning." That was the short but heavy sentence Billy Crystal uttered when he was first asked about the passing of his closest lifelong friend, Rob Reiner, and Rob's wife inside their home in Brentwood. From deeply personal grief, Billy unexpectedly spoke out, revealing chilling details about long-simmering tensions before the tragedy, unusual signs at the scene, and suspicions surrounding those closest within Rob's own family, things that had never been publicly mentioned before. What follows retraces what Billy Crystal knew, the warnings he tried to give, and why, when everything was over, he was the one left carrying the greatest burden of his life. According to Billy Crystal's later account to a small circle of trusted reporters from the Los Angeles Times and Variety, that pivotal conversation took place on the afternoon of Sunday, November 30th, 2025, in the ground-floor living room of Rob Reiner's home on Chadbourne Avenue in the Brentwood neighborhood. This was a very specific point in time, just 14 days before the incident occurred. Billy arrived at Rob's house a little after 4 p.m., shortly after the two had finished a brief phone call. Rob was the one who initiated that call and said plainly, "Come over. I need to talk to you for a bit. This isn't about a movie." Billy recalled that from the moment Rob opened the door, he seemed noticeably different. He was not dressed as neatly as usual. His shirt was slightly wrinkled, his sleeves rolled up past his wrists, and his hair was uncombed. When he shook Billy's hand, his grip was weaker than normal. Rob led his friend into the living room, but did not turn on the television or play music, as he usually did whenever Billy visited. He poured water, set the glass down on the table, and did not take a sip. His eyes repeatedly drifted toward the hallway leading to the other rooms of the house. According to Billy, that detail was what first made him uneasy, because Rob had never shown such visible tension in his own private space. After a few minutes of silence, Rob spoke first. Billy remembered the opening words very clearly because Rob's voice was lower and hoarser than usual. Rob said that things at home were a mess and that he hadn't told anyone, but he was truly exhausted. When Billy asked what exactly was going on, Rob did not avoid the subject and went straight to talking about Nick Reiner. He said that Nick had gone through a serious relapse episode in early November, followed by clear changes in behavior. Rob explained that Nick had become frequently irritable, reacting intensely to even minor remarks, and that there were evenings when he returned home in an unstable state, forcing Michelle to leave the bedroom to avoid confrontation. Billy said Rob mentioned a specific incident that occurred about a week before Thanksgiving. According to him, Nick and Rob had a major argument right in the kitchen, triggered by issues related to money and treatment. Rob did not recount the exact words exchanged, but he admitted that the moment gave him chills because he realized he could no longer predict his son's next reaction. When recalling this detail, Rob paused for quite a while, raised a hand to rub his forehead, and stared down at the floor. Billy described that look not as anger, but as prolonged exhaustion, the look of someone whose sense of certainty had slowly worn away. Rob went on to say that he was trying to keep Nick close to the family, believing that the presence of his parents might help his son become more stable. He told Billy a sentence that Billy would later recall many times. He was afraid that one day, if he pushed Nick away, he would be the last person who caused him to fall apart. Rob said it very slowly, almost as if he were speaking to himself. Billy noticed that as he spoke, Rob kept tightly interlacing his fingers, a gesture suggesting he was struggling to keep his emotions in check. It was at that moment that Billy Crystal responded more firmly than he ever had before. He said he sat up straight, looked at Rob for a long time, and told him that while he understood what kind of father Rob was, he believed Rob was trading away his own safety and Michelle's. Billy stressed that the kind of uncontrolled behavior Rob had described should not be taken lightly, especially when it was happening inside the family home. He added that trusting family bonds was natural, but in this situation, Rob needed to set clearer boundaries instead of continuing to endure everything in silence. Rob listened without interrupting. Billy clearly remembered the moment when Rob lifted his head, his eyes visibly red, his voice dropping as he replied that he heard him, truly did, but he could not see his own son as a threat. Rob explained that Nick had gone through many dark periods in the past, and he feared that one hard move at the wrong moment could push everything beyond control. As he said this, Rob leaned back into his chair and let out a deep sigh, as if he himself was no longer certain that he was making the right choice. The conversation ended with an unusual sense of heaviness. Rob stood up, walked toward the window, and looked out at the backyard garden, a place where the family had once held many warm gatherings. He turned back, gently patted Billy on the shoulder, and said he would rethink everything after Thanksgiving. Billy left the Brentwood house as dusk was setting in, carrying a sense of unease that lingered for many days afterward. According to Billy, this was one of the rare times he left Rob's home with a single thought repeating in his mind, that something was deeply wrong. It was from this private conversation, revealed by Billy Crystal after the tragedy, that many details of the Brentwood case began to be viewed from a different angle, opening questions that would become increasingly difficult to ignore as the case unfolded. Billy said that when he first read about what happened inside that house, his immediate reaction was that it was very different from the Rob he knew. What struck him as unusual from the very beginning was not only the seriousness of the incident, but the sequence in which everything unfolded. The Brentwood house had never been a place of prolonged silence. Rob and Michelle kept a steady daily rhythm, with people coming and going, clear schedules, and regular appointments. Yet the situation was only discovered when someone from outside arrived according to plan, knocked repeatedly, and received no response. In Billy's mind, that detail immediately raised questions. Why did so much time pass without anyone inside responding? And why was nothing noticed earlier? Billy paid close attention to how family members encountered the scene. When Romy entered the house, she saw her father first and panicked, running back outside. Michelle was in a different location and was identified later. Billy said this detail gave him chills because it showed the two were not together at the moment everything happened. In Billy's memory, Rob had once said that tensions at home did not usually erupt in a single place, but moved from room to room, unfolding in stages. The scene itself, as Billy imagined it, reflected that exact pattern. Another point Billy could not ignore was the length of time before everything was discovered.